Now, there is one really good sign, and hopefully it's happening around here. I don't know. We haven't talked about it recently, but something that I had talked to you about trying to do here. I have a family that I work with out in California for about a year, and father's really into my whole non-competitive approach. He told me when I was back there, got back from Christmas, that his daughter is 7 years old and she is in a developmental basketball league. And so what that means is that they're teaching them the skills to play the game and the rules, and there's no competition in the program. So, very cool. Anyway, I've been teaching tennis since 1974, and by about early to mid-1980s, I started having serious questions about the competitive learning system. I just didn't think it was doing the best job for most people. So I started at that point to de-emphasize the competition and emphasize instead physical, mental, and emotional skill development. At the end of 1992, I removed all competition from my tennis program, and the goal became competence before competition. Interesting thing is that even without competition in my program, obviously tennis has been a competitive game, so people come to the program to learn their skills so that they can actually do better in competition. So even without competition in the program, I have many stories of people doing quite well competitively. So it can work even for the competitive people. My saying is, when you know how to play the game, success is the natural outcome. So I'm proposing that we remove all competition from the learning process until people can demonstrate competence in the fundamental skills of what they are working on. And those, remember, are physical, mental, and emotional fundamental skills. After that, people can compete if they want. But the good news is that it's no longer necessary to get into competition to achieve excellence. We can actually excel without any competition. An excellence-based, non-competitive approach to learning will create many more people being able to achieve competence in the fundamental skills of what they're learning. And because of that, a higher percentage will then be able to go on and excel in these activities. The most important finding of my research in the last 17 years, and the reason that it is imperative that we change to this non-competitive system, is that the crux of the problem inherent in a competitive system is that each generation needs to be more competitive than the last. Not to achieve an absolute standard of excellence, but just to keep up. Now think about that. Each generation needs to be more competitive just to keep up. So the big question is, how much more competitive can we be? When does the stress of this unrealistic expectation begin producing more negative than positive results? And have we already reached that point? I believe we have. I believe that this is the competitive system's fatal flaw, or Achilles heel. Because this is why we see all the stress, why this guy you were talking about, Harris, got upset with the IRS and flew a plane.
I didn't do it. I was talking about it.
Right, I know that. I got that part. But yeah, all the stress, with parents worried about the safety of their kids, with parents worried about putting their kids into the best preschool so that they can get them into the best high school, so that they can get them into the best college, and then the kids having to do all they need to do to be able to do that. There's a great movie out there that I would highly recommend people seeing if you can find it. That is The Race to Nowhere, all about the pressures of academics in our school system. The other side of it is, this aberrant behavior. Mothers killing their children, people going postal, all that kind of stuff. I believe it is because of the continuing increase in stress because of how the competitive system works. Now, some people believe that if we remove competition as a major motivator, that somehow that's unnatural, similar to asking a wolf or other predator to stop killing for its own survival. But fortunately, we humans are a little bit different than those other animals because we have a neocortex, which allows higher mental function. It gives us the ability to think about and analyze situations and figure out what the best course of action will be. Philosopher and mathematician Norbert Wiener, in his book, The Human Use of Human Beings, states, "What gives our species its evolutionary edge is our ability to change our behavior in response to feedback. Changing information about the effectiveness or lack of effectiveness of past behavior and new information about present conditions. We have a further evolutionary advantage in that we can change our behavior quickly. So if we look at the feedback that we see all around us, it's time to change our behavior in response to that." Charles Darwin said, "The survival or extinction of each species is determined by that species' ability to adapt to its environment. It's now time to adapt." A common response to what I'm saying is, "Everything you say sounds great, Brent, and I agree with you, but it will never happen." People raised in the competitive system know only too well the myriad obstacles and forces aligned against change. Pessimism and resignation have been deeply programmed into our collective cellular memory. But fortunately, so have possibility and hope. Mankind's countless creations, discoveries, and achievements in the forward march of our evolution tell us that the changes that we need to make are possible. As hard as it might be to believe, society will not collapse if we move to a more cooperative paradigm. It will actually thrive. And we need to get started on this now to help future generations. What kind of world do we want to leave our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren? Evolutionary education is the means to the end for transforming our society and our species. Through a non-competitive learning system, people will learn how to work together and get along, instead of seeing each other as adversaries, enemies, or obstacles to our goals. The only way we're going to get out of this mess is if we all work together. The myriad problems facing us cannot be solved if a competitive environment is our basic training. We are all in this together, whether we like it or not, and a non-competitive learning system will teach and nourish these ideas. Now, obviously, this is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time, but if we start working on it, within several generations, we can see significant positive change planet-wide. So, what can you do? Well, the first thing is to look at your lives and see where this competitive behavior may be raising its head, seeing how you relate to your spouse or significant other, your children, your other family members, friends, or business associates, and just see how that's all working there, whether it's working the best for you. Second thing you can do is go out and talk about this non-competitive learning environment and talk to people and let them know that there's an alternative that can actually work better. Especially talk to teachers and coaches about this. The third thing you can do is look at different activities that you participate in your life and see where you may be missing some of the fundamentals of those activities. And remember that fundamentals are physical, mental, and emotional skills. So then go back and work on those different pieces that you might have been missing, and you will see that not only will you perform better, but you will also be able to have much more fun in what you're doing. And then the last thing you can do, and this is challenging on an individual level, but when someone comes up to you and is behaving in a competitive manner, can you resist the urge to be competitive back to them? Because all that does is that they're competitive, and then you're competitive, and then it just escalates to a whole different level. What I've found is if I'm able to not get competitive and just stay cool, calm, and collected, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to react if somebody is not being competitive back to them. So you'll be amazed at the results. Last thing I want to say is that competition might be a part of human nature, but it doesn't have to dominate our behavior. By adopting cooperative, non-competitive, skill-to-mastery-based approaches to learning, we will be able to move beyond where we have and get past the limitations of the competitive system. And we will also be able to fulfill our greater potential, both as individuals and as a species. Thank you.